If you're a skilled worker in the UK or an intended skilled worker planning to come to the UK through the skilled worker migration route, this video is for you. As you all know, as a skilled worker, your visa is tied to the job you are doing. Invariably, as a skilled worker, you must work for your employer. The number of time you spend working for your employer will determine the validity of your visa, as your visa is directly tied to your employer and also tied to your job. So if you are a skilled worker, you need to watch this video to the end and share with all your contacts, as I'll be breaking down some updates about the skilled workers migration route and some salient points we don't talk about before now. As you all know, my name is Victor. You're welcome to my YouTube channel. If you are new to this channel, in this channel, I give updates about UK immigration, ways you can migrate to the United Kingdom, and ways you can study in the United Kingdom. I also talk about ways you can settle in when you arrive in the United Kingdom. If this content is something you like, please, you can just hit the subscribe button, give a thumb up to the video so YouTube can recommend to a wider audience. So without further delay, let's get started. As you all know, for you to get a skilled worker visa, you need a valid employment from an eligible sponsor in the UK. It's not all employers that are eligible to sponsor skilled workers, either from abroad or within the UK. If you are sponsored by an employer to work for them for a period of, let me say, 3 or 5 years, as the case may be, it's mandatory for you to work for that employer for the period of time, because your visa is tied directly to your employer, and the number of time you spend working for that employer will determine the validity of your visa. One of the conditions for Tier 2 work visa, which is otherwise known as the skilled worker visa, is that you must work for the employer that sponsored you to the UK, or the employer that sponsored you to remain here in the UK. If for any reason you no longer find job satisfaction from that job, or you felt you want to change, it's time for you to change to a higher role or a different position, there are procedures you need to follow to achieve all of this. Yeah, before I go into all of this procedure, let me bring this to notice of my audience. Before now, we all assume the visa sponsorship, the COS, is free. Guys, the COS is not free. Employer actually paid for this COS. They paid heavily for this COS. Some large organization paid up to like 5,000 to sponsor one individual. Yes, up to 5,000. But for small organization, they paid £1,820 to sponsor one individual. This is a lot of money, considering an employer that is willing to sponsor up to 20 workers. Just imagine paying £1,820 per person times 20. This is a lot of money. So trust, it will not be easy for an employer to let you go without fulfilling that amount, because the essence of them sponsoring you is for you to work with them for a particular period of time. Because most sector in the UK, most of the health and care sector, one challenges the sector is facing is employers doesn't stay for too long. People keep coming and going. After they've trained them for a particular period of time, they come and go. But with sponsorship, you are sure of having an employee that will stay for 3 to 5 years, which is quite commendable. That is one of the reasons most employers are willing to sponsor workers from abroad and within the UK, because you know a sponsored employer will definitely stay for the period of the visa, the period they are sponsored for. So guys, if for any reason you want to leave your employment, you need to go to your contract, because most employers actually state this, and this is one area most of us doesn't pay attention to. For you to leave an employer that sponsored you to the UK, you need to go and read your terms of contract with that employer. Most employer will definitely put it in their contract for you. Before you will be able to leave this employment, you must work for us for either 18 months, 1 year, 2 years, or it depends. It's at the discretion of the employer to tell you when the duration you will work with them before you can go without paying a dime. Because it will not be funny for an employer to pay £1,820 to sponsor you. After 1 month or 2 months, you are telling the employer you are no longer working with them again. That will be a lose on their part. So most employers, what they do is they insert it on your terms of contract, right? That you must work with them for XYZ period. For you to, if you decide to leave after that, you can go. Otherwise, if you want to leave before that time, you have to pay a certain amount. Some persons have run into trouble because they didn't read the contract, the terms of contract very well, and by the moment they got another job from an eligible employer, they just tender their resignation with a notice period that they are leaving, right? And the employer now have to draw their attention to some of the terms of contract that before you leave, if you didn't work up to this period, you need to pay a certain amount. That becomes a problem. Most employers insert this to their terms of contract with the notion that COS is free. Yes, it's free, but the employer can ask you to pay the 1,820, right? With that, you can decide to leave at any time. You can decide to work with the employer for 1 month, and if you want to leave, give them the normal notice period and you can leave. Nobody will hold you responsible. The employer has not breached any rule. If an employer asks you to pay £1,820 for the cost of COS with the condition that you can leave at any time, the employer has not breached any rule. And also, if an employer is telling you you must pay XY amount because you didn't work up to social period or up to a particular period, the employer has not breached any rule. Yeah, I got to know about this from the research I did. Employers paid minimum 1,820 to sponsor an individual, and they have the right to tell you to work with them for a particular period of time before you can leave without any obligation. Otherwise, if you are living with this shorter period, they can tell you to pay part of the money they paid to sponsor it to the UK. They've not breached any rule. So guys, if you are working for an employer and you intend moving from that employment to another employment while you are still under the sponsorship of the employer that brought you to the UK or that gave you sponsorship to remain here, you need to go and read through your terms of contracts, right? To be able to know what is spelled out on it, so that you will not leave this job thinking you've gotten a new employer and at the end of the day, the other employer will not be able to sponsor because you feel you have some unresolved issue with your previous employer. Trust me, if the employer you're working with, the employer about leaving, give you a reference to the new employer stating some of these conditions that you breach, the next employer will not want to absolve you because they feel you want to do same thing to them. So guys, you need to go through your contract, read it through, understand it. If you have any issues understanding all of these things, you can bring it up with those who have knowledge about this. We'll look it together with you so that you will not run short of the law. Employers actually pay huge amounts to sponsor an employee, right, to work with them. So it's not free as we all presume. Free in code, I just go and get employer, get the CS for free and sponsor employee for free. They paid for it, and it will not be fair on their part after paying such an amount to sponsor you. At the end of the day, you are living within a short period of time. They also take same amount to sponsor another employee to work with them. Some of the reasons why employers are comfortably or happy to sponsor a candidate to come and work with them is because if they knew that this person will stay for the period of time. Getting an employee that will stay for 3 years to 5 years, it's something that is remarkable on their part, because the care sector, one of the biggest challenges they have is employee doesn't stay. People keep coming and going. After some time, they come and they go. So with sponsorship, you are sure of getting an employee that will work with you for a particular period of time. Also, if you are leaving your sponsored employer to a new sponsored employer, your dependents, for those who have dependents, you will need to also change their visa from your present sponsor to a different sponsor. The moment you leave an employer that sponsored you to a new employer, your sponsorship visa, right, automatically ends and cancelled. So you will need to rely on the new employer to be able to stay back in the UK. While doing that, you need to do that also with your dependents. If you didn't do that, if you didn't change the visa of your dependent, they are living in the UK illegally. So once you switch from one employer to another, you must switch that of your dependents. You need to make, what that means is you need to do a fresh visa application, right, to the Home Office, pay the visa fee, and a new BRP card will be sent to you. If you are switching from an employer to another employer, getting a new COS, you need to do that for yourself and all your dependents. So you need to consider all of this. If you want to change from one sponsor to a different sponsor, you need to put all of this cognizance. You need to first of all read through your contract of employment, see some of the clauses that were inserted on it. If you've not worked up to that period of time, you need to see how you Either you pay a certain amount in lieu, or you wait to exhaust the period of time you are supposed to work with that employer. You will not have issues, right, with your new employer, knowing fully well you will need to get a reference from your current employer before your new employer will want to absorb you to work for them. Some persons has also got disagreement with their employer, thinking they can just walk away anytime they like from the employment because they've gotten a new offer from an eligible sponsor. No, it doesn't work that way. While you are considering yourself, you need to also consider that of the employer that sponsor you to the UK, or that sponsor you to remain in the UK till that period of time. So most employer actually insert some clauses to it. I know about an employer that requested those they are sponsoring to pay the fee of 1,820 because they want to leave at any point in time, they are free to leave. But if they are paying that fee on behalf of the employee must see their contract to the end. That's what they told them. And I think most of them opted to pay that amount, because you never can tell. If you have a high-paying job in the future, you can decide to leave at any time. But this employer is telling you, if they are paying this amount for you, you must seal your contract for the period of 5 years to the end. Otherwise, you will need to pay them if you want to leave at any time if you've not spent the 5 years. So most of them opted to pay that amount so that they can leave at any time. So guys, you need to read through your contract. You need to understand the terms of condition before you think of leaving a particular sponsor to a new sponsor. So guys, I've come to the end of this video. If this video is something that interests you, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give a thumb up to this video so YouTube can recommend to a wider audience. See you in my next video.